Australia's world first social media ban for kids under the age of 16 is only days away from starting. And the newspaper, television, and radio are absolutely flooded with information. And of course, social media is blowing up. And one of the best pieces of information that I've come across was in today's Daily Telegraph here in Sydney, a great article by Adella Beaini. I hope I got her name pronounced correctly. The headline is Australia's world first social media ban for under 16s. Everything you need to know. Here are answers to 54 of the most pressing questions parents are asking. So great, it's a great article. So let's dive into it straight away. But why is it all happening? Australia's world first social media ban for under 16s is set to take effect in just days, aiming to curb the risk of early online exposure. The sweeping restrictions will limit access to the popular platform for teens, with parents, teachers, and tech experts weighing in. Of course, it's been absolutely dominating the news channels. It's been coming, I suppose, for years. It's been debated in Parliament, and it's been a long time coming. So ahead of the ban, we answer 54 of the most pressing questions with everything you need to know. So question number one, what is the Australian social media ban? Well, Australia's Online Safety Social Media Age Restriction Act, there you go, a new law was passed through Parliament, will ban children under 16 from creating accounts on major social media platforms, including TikTok, Instagram, X, and a whole range of others. So why is the age limit needed? The government says it's to protect young people from harms associated with social media use, such as anxiety, depression, body image issue, bullying, exposure to adult or addictive content, which, I suppose is all good. It sounds all good. Who wants our children exposed to all of that? And it goes on to say, supporters argue the platforms were never designed for young teens and they collect a large amount of children's data as well. And when does the ban start? Well, it starts on the 10th of December. Meta this week, Meta's the owner of Facebook and Instagram. They started deleting some accounts a few days ago, but all of the popular platforms are going to be involved. Does the ban apply to existing accounts? Well, yes, platforms must identify, deactivate existing under 16 accounts. They must block new sign-offs and close off possible workarounds. They must also provide a review process for anyone incorrectly flagged. Number 5, who enforces the law? Well, the e-Safety Commissioner here in Australia will be the enforcement agency. And what actually counts as a social media platform? Well, age-restricted platforms are those designed for social interaction, allowing users to post, comment, follow others or build networks. So the messaging apps or gaming platforms, I suppose they say they're falling under education tools. Now, the messaging apps or gaming platforms and education tools are excluded unless they add social media style features like public posting or live streaming. So for gamers out there, it looks like you've escaped the ban at the moment. So again, which of the platforms? Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Threads, TikTok, X, YouTube, Kick, Twitch, Reddit. They've all been classified as age restricted. Now, I'm familiar with most of them, but a few I'm not, but I'm quite sure all of the teens know them all. And an expanded list on which platforms aren't affected, things like WhatsApp, Messenger, Discord, YouTube Kids, Roblox, I'm not even sure of that one, Stream, Google Classroom, and a few others. So question number 9 was, do you have to delete the apps from your child's phone? No, you don't have to delete the apps. When the new age restriction laws come into effect, social media platforms will automatically block or remove accounts belonging to under 16s. They go on to say the apps can stay on the phone, but your child won't be able to use them without age-verified accounts. So it's been thoroughly thought out, but obviously it's not going to be perfect, and there's going to be loopholes and workarounds and things like that. And we're only a minute or two into this, but I want you to go to the comment section below. Let me know your overall thoughts. If you're hearing this for the first time, you might be tuning in from somewhere around the world. This might be all brand new to you. And you're hearing it for the first time. So let me know your initial thoughts. Equally, let me know what country you're tuning in from around the world, because this is not going to just be an Australian thing. There are already other countries discussing it, with Malaysia saying they're going to be bringing the ban in as well. Number 10, is Lemonade Social going to be included? I have no idea what Lemonade Social is, so I'll skip over that, but you can stop and pause and read. Can this list of banned apps be changed? Well, basically, the answer to that one is a quick yes. Is YouTube fully banned? Standard YouTube requires an account to post, comment, or subscribe. However, kids can still watch public videos. Just like any of us today, we could watch anything on YouTube without having an account. Well, gaming platforms, well, luckily for millions, hundreds of millions of kids, Fortnite is not going to be blocked, so there's a small win for them, I suppose. What other apps might my child turn to that could be harmful? And then they go on to say, even with the bans, kids may turn to platforms that aren't covered, like Discord, Roblox, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, and various other ones. I'm quite sure teenagers are going to be very resourceful and start looking on day one for ways to get around the bans. Number 15, how will the platforms enforce the ban? They must take reasonable steps beyond self-declared age, including using behavioural data, device information, and an age estimation technology. I'm not quite sure what that one is, but basically the tech platforms are going to be using some of their own algorithms and to work around anyone's particular age. What age verification will be required? Well, platforms won't verify every user, and government ID cannot be the only option, it says. If flagged as under 16, a user may need to verify third-party check or another approved method, and the list of that is growing. Will every Aussie, number 17, will every Aussie need an age check? No, only users who appear under 16 may be prompted. Now, what are the penalties for the companies that don't comply? So question number 18, what are the penalties? And this is absolutely huge. Platforms that don't take reasonable steps face fines of up to $49.5 million. So there we go. They're not going to be hit with a feather. They're going to be hit with a ton of bricks. $50 million fines for platforms that don't take reasonable steps. So let me know your thoughts on that, that potential penalty. What happens if underage people still access the site? There are no penalties for children. Enforcement applies only to the platforms. There we go. What do tech companies actually need to do? They must detect and block under 16s, deactivate existing account, close loopholes, and offer a review process for wrongly flagged users. So what happens to all of the teen accounts at the moment? What happens to posts and photos on under 16 accounts? TikTok and Snapchat will freeze or archive teen accounts for under 16s. They can download their posts, chats and photo videos before losing access. Now, archiving the accounts, does that mean once they turn 16s, they can log back in and hopefully all the information's still there available for them? Because I know from my point of view, I'd hate to lose access to all of my Facebook information because it's been a timeline of my life and all the wonderful things over the last 10 or 15 years. Number 22, can teens reactivate their account? Some platforms may keep accounts deactivated rather than deleted, so they can be restored later. But teens should save everything. Well, there we go. We just thought about that in question 21 answer. Will kids lose followers, DMs? They may. It depends on the platforms. Can kids get around the ban? Well, I'm quite sure they can, and they will. And not only teens, I'm quite sure every hacker online is probably going to give this a crack. Can kids get around the restrictions by using a VPN? The answer, kids can possibly get around the ban as VPNs can mask a user's location. There we go. And make it appear as though they're outside of Australia. But then it goes on to say platforms are expected to detect suspicious activity via device data, GPS, and known VPN IP ranges. There we go. So technology can actually sort of work things out in the end. Will creating an account using a fake birthday still work? Unlikely. Platforms must use more than self-declared age. So the days of just saying, hey, I'm over a certain age with self-declaration looks like they're gone. What about signing up with an overseas version? Platforms will use location signals like our IP address, so you may not have any luck there. Can parents, number 27, can kids use a parent's account? Not necessarily. If behavior suggests the user is under 16, platforms can trigger an age check on a shared family account. There we go. So parents or older siblings, if you're going to be giving your phone or your app to your younger kids under the age of 16, your account might start getting flagged as well. So beware on that. Number 28, can under 16 still view social media without an account? The short answer is yes, for public content only, but you won't obviously get too much information. Will the messaging apps like WhatsApp, Messenger, Discord become loopholes? Not at the moment, because they're classified as communication tools. That's right, messaging apps, not social media. So they should escape the ban. Will accessing the platforms via a web browser instead of an app bypass? No. Will using a shared school laptop help teens get around the restrictions? No. Can I report under 16s? I suppose I'm not going to go through all of these individually because some of them are less important. Are parents notified if their child is blocked? Only if the parent is listed as an administrator. So the quick answer to that is probably no. Will they face audit? Yeah, the e-safety commissioner can do that. Will I get fined if I get around the ban? No. The app makers, the platforms may. Will I still be able to be a gamer? The gaming platforms are still going to be accessible. What if on December 10, I'm 14 and I can still log into a restricted platform? It's the answer. That's a good question. It basically says it likely means the platform hasn't processed your account, but it will. Companies must identify and remove under 16. So you might be lucky for a short period of time, but maybe not forever. Where can I get help if my child is not coping? Well, there's lots of support information. Will this increase conflict at home? I'm quite sure, but hopefully more kids of all ages are going to be out running around outside, kicking or throwing a ball or just reading books or doing something totally different to instead of all consuming social media scrolling. What happens to young teens running small businesses? This is a good one. I read a article in today's paper about an Aussie skateboarder who's an Olympian in skateboarding. Huge. All of the skateboarding Olympics, most recently in Paris, they're all young kids. This Aussie kid's 15, 400,000 followers across all of her socials. She's going to unfortunately be caught up in this. And this basically says under 16s operating business or creator or influence accounts will have them deactivated. So deactivated until they come of age 16. Will this affect kids with communication with friends? Well, I'm quite sure in ways it will, but they can still use WhatsApp and Messenger. So they might have to actually make a phone call as well. There you go. Go to the comments. How many kids actually make phone calls? I'm going to suggest almost a zero of them. What if I disagree with the ban? Yes, of course, you'd be able to appeal. What should I say to my children if they're crying because they can't use social media? Well, you know, this is going to be in millions of households around Australia. And as I said at the start of this video, Australia is not just the first country Australia is the first country that's going to implement. The European Union are debating it in Parliament. Malaysia said they're going to be following soon. So this could be a worldwide thing that nations all around the world have to sort of deal with. School, work, daily life. Will schools be required to enforce the ban? No, schools won't. But obviously the government here in Australia have asked principals and schools and the wider community to get on board with this ban. Can kids still use social media for projects? Schools are expected to use alternatives like Google Classroom or Teen. Can teens still rely on social media for news emergency? Yes. Public posts without logging in. Under 16s cannot run or manage social media accounts for work unless done through a supervised. So there is so much information on this. Will platforms even collect more data? Well, I suppose they will. Will advertising profiles for young teens be deleted? Yes, platforms must remove tracking profiles into under 16. Future changes. Could they rise? Well, who knows? We'll have to watch this space. Will the ban push teens towards lesser known or unsafe platforms? Well, time will tell. Number 54, if the ban fails, will kids get to use social media again? Well, that's a question that we haven't really even thought about because that's going to be well down the track. So there we go, a longer video that covers so much information. Once again, thank you to the journalist Adella Beaini from the Daily Telegraph here in Sydney. Today's the 6th of December, so we've got 4 more days before this ban comes into place. And I'm sure the airways over the next few days are going to be absolutely flooded with information. But what I want you to do again, go to the comments section. Let me know your thoughts. parents and the wider Australian community, we've been hearing about this now for a long, long time. Let me know your thoughts. Are you in favour of it? Equally, if you're watching this video from overseas, you might be hearing about it for the first time. I've actually already got a couple of videos on my YouTube channel about this already, but I'm expanding my information on it because it is a very prominent, newsworthy topic at the moment. Go to the comments, let me know your thought. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, or if you're watching it on my Facebook or across my other socials, give me a like and leave me a comment as well.